It sounds like the opposition does think that there should be labeling, but it should be federally driven rather than state driven. I just want to share with the members of the committee, I've been here a few years now, and over the years, one of the things that helps us get good federal legislation is to have states be the laboratory of democracy and create the bills that help create eventually good legislation. I'll give you an example of another right to know example that in my own experience, which was when I first got elected, there was absolutely no right for people in Minnesota to know whether or not they were being exposed to toxic exposures at their workplace. There was no workers' right to know bill. I was a young legislator who didn't know I couldn't pass stuff that was hard, and so we passed it in about 3 years. We had major opposition. All kinds of, the chemical companies, the user folks came and presented lots of opposition to the bill. And then Minnesota became the 6th state to say that workers do have a right to know when they're being exposed to toxic substances. After about another half dozen states passed that law, then the federal government moved forward, and we had a federal workers' right to know exposure to toxic substances. Minnesota's law is still stronger, but that's kind of the way legislation happens at the federal level. That's sometimes desired by consumers and citizens, workers, so on. So I'd say I would like to see Minnesota take its place. Right now there are 4 states, 3 that have the governors have signed 4th, that's I believe on the governor's desk, that have already said, yes, our consumers, our state citizens have a right to know when there's genetically engineered food before them. So this real basic right to know, I think it's a health issue, it's a science issue. And Mr. Chairman, you and I have been through the situations where we've had the scientists arguing against each other, and I really encourage people to look at this. This is good science to look at the issue of genetically engineered foods. And I'm confident that when you do, especially as the evidence mounts, and there's more research done by other countries and by our own states, sometimes state universities, and then other academic institutions, looking at what the impacts are. The fact that genetically engineered substances end up in the breast milk of our babies is something I hope you all pay attention to for our children. We're starting with the very youngest people. Some of the experimental efforts here that are going forward, as was pointed out by the proponents in the last witness, the promises of genetic engineering have not really come true for our farmers. And I think that I grew up on a farm. I know how important it is to grow good food. I'm right now involved in doing some organic farming. It's really important that we have good and safe food. And so, Mr. Chairman, I believe on both sides I heard a commitment to consumer choice, and that's what this committee is all about. So, Mr. Chairman, I will promise you that I will keep working on this, and my door is open to, obviously, to both sides on this issue, and I hope we can come back to you next year with a really strong bill again.